You are listening to the Workbench After Hours podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to the Second Amendment, where we talk about firearms, everything that's going on in the gun community, and we even try a different whiskey every week. In this week's episode, we have some good news in the 2A community, one of which is a court overturning the ATF's final ruling on the frame and receivers that came out last year. And then we're also going to try Maker's Mark number 46, French Oak. Welcome back to episode number 80 of the Workbench After Hours podcast. Chris is here with me, and we have some really good news for the Second Amendment. Finally, after weeks of bad news, we finally have some good news to report. But before we get to that, Chris, what are we drinking?
Maker's Mark number 46, Bill's recipe. So it's French oaked, which we were just looking up because I was like, I don't quite understand what French oak meant. But I guess they put 10 French oak pieces of wood inside the barrel as they mature over time.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I going to interpret it.
Yeah, and I got some pictures here of the stabs that they put in there.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'd never even thought about that.
Yeah, so they fully mature it at cast strength and then put the 10 stabs in there and store it down in their lime cellar is what it said.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, that's, yeah. So basically, kind of like every Maker's Mark that we've tried so far, we should be getting quite a bit of vanilla, caramel, and baking spices is pretty much what the nose and taste should be. And did you say what proof this was?
I think it's 94.
Yeah,
94.
Yeah, 47%. So, yeah. So, right off the bat, I mean, just taking a whiff of it, caramel, vanilla.
Yeah, right off the bat. You could smell it right when we poured it.
Yeah. And it's not, you're not getting a lot of that, like, heat smell or...
You're not getting the proof at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think it's 94 proof. It seems lower.
Yeah, it does.
Because a lot of the other ones, some of the 90s have a more potent alcohol smell. You get a little bit of spice, but not much.
Yeah, a very tiny hint of the baking spices at the very end there. But I have a feeling it's going to be pretty caramely and
sweet.
Yes, and then once we put it on ice, I think it's just going to kind of bring out the sweetness of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of caramel vanillas. I get some.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, definitely getting some baking spice on there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's not like overpowering. It's like a smooth,
mildly
spice.
Sweet and unique, layered with deep, rich notes of vanilla and baking spice. Spices really come up
on the back end.
Yes, and the finish is a velvety, subtle, and pleasingly long.
I say it's very subtle, and then as you let it sit back there for a little bit, that's when you start picking up more of that spice, and it gets a little bit of that baking spice. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't linger. It's real smooth and subtle.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy drinker, like just neat. Like
I think I had a different bottle of this at home, but I'm not sure. But it's been so long since I've messed with Maker's Mark.
We've had regular Maker's Mark, and didn't we have a different one on here before?
I can't remember what we had though.
I need to keep a running list.
I know.
I started one, but
it's hard to keep track.
If we had this before, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've had this one.
No.
Maybe we tried the cast strength.
Maybe it was.
Because we were watching SLB Drinks and they were talking about that.
Yeah.
So I think we tried that one.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's hard to keep these things straight anymore. Going to liquor stores like, okay, what haven't I had now again?
Yes. So this one's good, especially if you like vanilla caramel. You get very sweet up front.
Yeah.
And then you start getting spices. I'm getting a little bit of burn now after that second sip, but
it's
very
smooth.
Easy to drink. Yeah, once we put it on the rocks, I think we're going to lose the baking spices.
Maybe,
and just going to kind of bring out the really caramel.
Sweetness, yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, that's different.
It is.
I like it. It's pretty good.
What did this bottle run?
About $38.
Not terrible, because regular Makers is...
About $35, $33, depending on what size you get, because you can get the liter too.
And I think it's cool that they hand dip every bottle. So
each
one has a different
another
run.
one. It was their signature series. It's a little bit fancier bottle, and you can like put the person's name on the inside cards and make it customized for them. And it was really neat, and it was like $40, and I almost got it, but I was like, it's just Maker's Mark. That's all it is. It's nothing fancy, but a fancy bottle.
Yeah, I've seen that at a couple different liquor stores, but yeah, it's like I don't want to pay the extra money because
Yeah, it's just regular makers with a different bottle.
yeah. Eventually pour this on the rocks and try it, and we'll stop and see what that gives us. But,
Yeah.
So, actually, I'm going to pour this real quick because I want to try it compared to. I want to keep it neat too, so that way I can kind of compare.
Oh yeah.
So, finally, some good news
Finally.
in the gun community, and there's two different ones. One I recently just literally found out today. We're recording. It's Monday, July 3rd, so this isn't going to come out until Friday. So this may have already come out, but I just heard of this. So I guess we'll start out with the quick one. And we did a podcast not that long ago about the ATF director, and what was his name?
I just called him Goober.
Yeah,
Or Dweeb.
Dweeb, yeah. And we were roasting him on his committee hearing that he was getting drilled on regarding the pistol brace ruling and just how he didn't know anything. And Matt Getz was one of the people that interviewed him and just released, at least as far as I'm aware of. I know Copper Jacket TV just released this a little bit ago, but I'm going to put this up on the screen here. So Matt Getz and Marjorie Green Taylor, little controversial. She's very, very right wing. So she's got a lot of people that hate her. But anyway, so this came out June 28th, so not too old news.
No.
But they're going to invoke this Holman rule because they want to abolish the ATF. That's going to be really difficult to do.
Yeah.
But what they can do is use that Holman rule to either decrease the salary of a federal employee, completely defund that, or just fire them. So they're going to invoke this Holman rule to do that to the ATF director. So they announced on Monday that they would attempt to use a congressional procedure to defund the office of the ATF director amid allegations that the agency has repeatedly exceeded its
statutory authority.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad you can read that. So Matt Getz said to the director that he wanted to defund him plus the agency in that hearing because they're trying to make law and make a bunch of people felons when they can't do that.
Yep.
Congress hasn't voted on any of this, and they're just changing their mind because of Joe Biden.
Yep.
Which we'll get to. This all kind of ties together too. But so they're going to try and get this Holman rule going so they can basically defund the ATF director's job. So they would either fire him, completely cut his pay because he's in the six figures.
Yeah.
And so, the ATF has made it a matter of political policy to shut down gun stores by making perfection the standard in record keeping, which Matt Getz was like, hey, you guys lost a bunch of records and guns. Like, you don't even follow your own stuff.
Yep.
A standard that the ATF itself could not meet. So since the Biden administration has announced its new zero tolerance policy in 2021, FFLs have faced the highest revocation rate in 16 years. So this policy has effectively become the death penalty for even the most innocent of clerical errors, and the ATF has shown itself incapable of operating within the confines of its statutory authority, and we must force a change. So good on them.
Yeah.
So that's we'll see where that goes. Hopefully that does happen, and
the dweeb will be gone.
yes. Again, we're still going to be stuck with the ATF, but that guy needs to get out of there because he's...
I mean, they paid for them to actually go to court and fight things. You could send your director and make him look somewhat competent.
So just took a sip of it since it's been sitting on the ice, and I think it brings out the sweetness.
Yep, and all that spice is pretty much gone.
Still real good,
You get a little bit, but not much.
I mean, not a whole lot of stuff going on the palate other than I still get vanilla.
Yep.
Caramel.
You get a little bit of spice, but it's hardly there now.
I guess I could kind of see some oak in there.
Yeah.
A little bit of oak in there too, but other than that, it's a pretty sweetened.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Drink. So you definitely like the sweeter type of whiskeys. This might be for you.
Go for it.
Exactly. So yeah, bye-bye to that guy, hopefully. And I mean, it'd be awesome if we could just abolish the
ATF in general.
or just the F
Yeah.
part of that. Because I know there's some stuff with like bombs and stuff that, some of the terrorist stuff that they get involved in. But of course, then you got the FBI for that.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the CIA. I don't know. I don't trust any of them.
Yes. All right. So the main thing I wanted to talk about today is, God, this seems like forever ago, and our podcast has come a long way since then. Back in April of 2022, episode number 18, I had to go back and look it up.
Holy smokes.
We did an episode called Those Scary Ghost Guns. I'll post a link up here in case you guys want to check that out. Hunter was still with us back then before he had his kid. And we talked about this new final ruling that the ATF came out with. And this is before the pistol brace ruling. So this predates that. So this is another rule that's been out there for over a year now that has been kind of
up in the air,
lingering and seeing where that's going. Well, a court judge has basically thrown it out, which is awesome. And if you don't have to go back to that episode, but we took some clips that Joe Biden pretty much got this going from and demanded that, the ATF or the AG's office try to stop ghost guns. And what a ghost gun is, in their mind, is a polymer 80 gun. So if you get an 80%er, usually in a pistol or AR format, and then you have the ability to machine that into a firearm at some point. But they call those ghost guns because there's no serial numbers.
Yeah.
But technically, once you turn it into a firearm, you're supposed to serialize it.
Yep.
And to be legal. But since the beginning of our country, it has not been illegal to make your own weapons.
Yep. You can go to Home Depot and make pipe shotguns and
we can make a knife. We can make a sword.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of stuff. We can make a Coke gun, potato gun.
Foil bombs.
I mean, that's shooting a projectile. I mean,
fireworks.
So it is not against the law to make your own weapon. They're just trying to really make it to where you can't and regulate this. So they wanted to take these ghost guns, or the main brand is Polymer 80. It's one of the main brands, and then there's some others out there, but they sell an 80% finished receiver. So say a pistol that you still have to mill out, which isn't easy unless you have the right tools and the know-how and the jig.
Yeah.
You can drill out the rest of it and turn that into a functional firearm once you put all the parts and stuff together. And they say there's no way to trace those guns in crime, which, you really can't trace guns now anyway because of the black market and, people doing private transfers and just all sorts of different reasons. So we'll go ahead and do this clip real quick of Joe Biden that we had on our previous podcast that kind of brought this whole final ruling into,
A year ago this week, standing here with many of you, I instructed the Attorney General to write a regulation that would rein in the proliferation of ghost guns because I was having trouble getting anything passed in the Congress. The gun lobby tried to tie up the regulators and paperwork for a long, long time. The NRA called this rule I'm about to announce extreme. Extreme. But let me ask you, is it extreme to protect police officers? Extreme to protect our children? Extreme to keep guns out of the hands of people who couldn't even pass a background check? Look, the idea that someone on a terrorist list could purchase one of these guns is extreme. It isn't extreme, just basic common sense. To buy a couch you have to assemble, it's still a couch. If you order a package like this one over here, that includes the parts you need, the direction of assembling a functioning firearm, you bought a gun. Take a look. A felon, a terrorist, a domestic abuser can go from a gun kit to a gun in as little as 30 minutes. Buyers aren't required to pass background checks because guns have no serial numbers, these guns. When they show up at a crime scene, they can't be traced. Harder to find and prove who used them. Meaning you can't connect the gun to the shooter and hold them accountable. In fact, the ATF reports that they've been able to trace less than 1% of ghost guns reported by law enforcement. Last year alone, law enforcement reported approximately 20,000 suspected ghost guns to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. That's a 10-fold increase in these ghost guns from 2016. 10-fold. All of a sudden, it's no longer a ghost. It has a return address. It's going to help save lives, reduce crime, and get more criminals off the streets.
Does he not know criminals don't follow the laws anyway?
I mean, everything he talked about was about criminals.
Right.
They're going to find a way.
So most of these are getting bought by law-abiding citizens that probably own a gun legally anyway.
Yeah. And it takes more than 30 minutes to assemble.
Oh, yeah. It's not just like anybody can assemble that. Like, you have to have the right tools.
And, yeah.
And you want to do it right, because if you don't, you could have a major issue on your hands. So it's not like anybody can just do that. So, yeah. and criminals are going to scratch off serial numbers anyway, so you're not going to be able to trace an actual gun with a serial number either.
Most of the time, they're going to do ballistics and try to look for fingerprints on that and fragments of metal.
But he admitted he was going around Congress.
Yeah, he did.
To have this enacted, and he did. So he went to the ATF, and they made this final ruling to where they were going to change the definition of a firearm to include parts and kits.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole thing with Polymer 80 was the big one, these 80% kits. And that's why they kind of disappeared for a while, because this whole ruling was up in the air. So recently, as of Friday, June 30th, a court ruling came in, and we have it here, that shot it down, basically, which is awesome. So it's 38 pages long. I'll post a link in the description below if you want to check it out, because this judge kind of calls out the ATF on a lot of stuff. So it's actually kind of entertaining to read this. But basically, the case presents the question of whether the federal government may lawfully regulate partially manufactured firearm components, related firearm products, and other tools and materials in keeping with the Gun Control Act of 1968. Because the court concludes that the government cannot regulate those items without violating federal law, the court holds that the government's recently enacted final rule, the definition of a frame or receiver, and identification of firearms, is unlawful agency action taken in excess of ATF's statutory
jurisdiction.
Yeah. On this basis, the court vacates the final rule. So they're throwing it out, basically, which is awesome.
Can't just go making laws and rules and going around things.
And there's a lot of stuff in there where it talks about the Gun Control Act of 1968, and there's another one, I think like 73 or something like that, where Congress voted on what the definition of a firearm was. Yeah. And then they state that Congress could have voted that a part or a kit or all this stuff was a firearm, and all the stuff that they could have done, but they didn't.
Yep.
And so because that wasn't voted on, and in the Gun Control Act, they all voted and passed, and the president signed, hey, this is what a firearm is, nothing more, nothing less.
Common sense laws, huh?
Yeah. So finally, some good news. So this whole final ruling is getting thrown out. I know there's a bunch of states kind of suing Polymer 80 and everything like this for this exact reason, but I think those are going to get thrown out because of this ruling.
Hopefully.
So, good news. So you should start seeing Polymer 80s, 80%er kits start coming back up again. But does this set kind of what may happen with the pistol brace ruling?
I would think so, because you got to look now. Buffer tubes, now this. I mean, they've all gotten turned down.
Because he says that the court concludes the government cannot regulate those items without violating federal law, and that the ATF was in excess of what they can do in their jurisdiction, which is exactly what they're doing in the pistol brace ruling.
Yep.
It's even worse than this, what they're doing, because they're turning millions, anywhere from 8 to 40 million. We don't know, but 8 to 40 million Americans felons overnight with this ruling. So that is way worse than this final ruling was. Yeah. So maybe this is a green light at the end of the tunnel there.
Well, I think it's going to, if they're trying to disband or get rid of a director of this nice federal agency. So I think if they're getting rid of them, that they're realizing, hey, you can't be doing this. They're going against the law. And I think what they should do is make an example out of them and throw them in jail.
Yeah.
For trying to make up their own law.
Yeah.
Give them a piece of their own.
Obviously,
medicine.
they're going against the federal law. They're breaking the law and going in excess of their jurisdiction. So it's hopefully the same judge.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or court gets this. It was a court, United States District Court, Northern District of Texas, Fort Worth Division. So I'll post this whole thing down in the description below where you can check out the PDF format. And you have to read through it because it's...
comical at times.
Yeah, it is, because the judge is basically like, hey, like, what are you guys doing? And whereas like Congress could have done this, but they didn't vote on it.
Yep, there's a reason for it.
You guys don't have the jurisdiction to
make your own law.
Go around Congress and make this.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's hope that this same thing happens with the pistol brace ruling, because that's in effect technically right now.
I think it will. I think it's going to get shot down.
Even though it's kind of in a gray area right now with the injunctions in place.
Yeah.
So, of course, this was introduced back in April. So this was over a year before it got thrown out.
Yeah. The buffer tubes was how long?
Yeah, the pistol brace started in
May 31st, I think.
Yeah, May 31st is when it went effect.
Comply.
So we may have until next
year,
summer, fall,
2 years, new presidency.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe this will get moved up.
Yeah, maybe.
So 2 good news right there, and then hopefully some further good news with because there is a lot of people fighting against that pistol brace ruling, just like they did with this.
Yeah, we need to also worry about that Homestead Act.
The Homestead Act?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to worry about that one. I think that's more important than the pistol brace.
What's that? So in case anybody listening isn't
the one where they said it was for weapons of military grade that we shouldn't have, and they put a restriction on the magazines. Can't have a gun or a rifle that has the potential to hold more than 10 rounds, which is pretty much every gun out there, except for the M1 Garand, which is a weapon of war.
It was used in the war, but that was totally fine.
Yeah. So hopefully that one gets shut down too.
Yeah. But of course, more stuff will come up. But the fact of the matter is the ATF cannot make law. And that's what Joe Biden instructed them to do. And basically breaking law. So he needs to get impeached and get thrown out.
They're working on it.
But again, Clinton got impeached, Trump got impeached, and nothing really happened. They stayed in office.
Yeah,
so
I think it just, I don't know.
I don't know. It just makes
it's a term, makes it sound good for us, but it actually doesn't do anything.
Yeah, nothing. I mean,
a better shot of probably the Air Force One crashing or something.
If Hunter Biden got away with what he did,
tax invasion and weapon,
Joe Biden's just gonna be like, not affected by this at all.
Double standards, man. I tell you, it could kill people.
Yeah. So that's what I had. That good news.
I did get a new vehicle. That was an experience, and I found out why I was kind of mad at Apple now.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to deliver my vehicle Saturday, which they did.
And what did you get?
I got a BMW X5.
Okay.
So 2015. So it's an F-15, so technically it's a fighter jet to Joe Biden. So they told me that, hey, they'll be there between 3 and 4 in the morning to drop it off. I was like, all right, cool. I'll stay up, or I'll have my phone on. Just call me. I woke up at 3, 3:30, 4, 4:30, all the way up to like 6. I was like, what the heck? I haven't heard from these guys. And then all of a sudden, my phone had like 15 missed messages, 15 missed calls. I was like, what in the world? And I ran downstairs like, crap. And so I tried calling them back. Like, oh, we just left the car outside for you. I was like, oh, Jesus. Thank God.
Yep.
But I was so nervous. And then they didn't pick up my truck. And I was like, whoa. I'm trading it in. You're supposed to pick it up. we don't have orders for it. So I had to call the dealership, and they got someone to come pick it up. So
Nice.
I've been driving around the BMW. It's been nice.
Yeah, I've really been testing out the power of the Lowrider ST for sure. I went riding with a buddy who also has he just got a 2020 Lowrider ST, or sorry, Lowrider S, not the ST, but it has a stage 2 done and some other upgrades, and it sounds sick. And it's only got the 114, but with the cam and the stage 2, probably pretty much the same as mine stock. And because we were going, I mean, we were
Getting it?
luckily I was at past 500 because we were getting after it, and yeah, it was it's fun. I'm not gonna say what we were doing, but we were really
Getting on it.
yeah. So got to test the Lowrider ST out against his, and man, we were neck and neck. But then I'm like, man, I got a job,
topped in.
company car, I can't be going too fast here. But,
Top end.
yeah, and then of course, like a storm was coming in, so it was lightning like crazy. So we're like, oh man, all right, let's go home. And so we went our separate ways, and it never ended up raining or storming.
Yeah.
Of course.
This weather's been weird lately. Like, it looks like it's gonna just torrential downpour and then nothing.
Yep.
It's like, what the heck? Come on, give us something.
Yep. But I have noticed a lot of so the bike videos have been doing fairly well, and then a couple of people have noticed that because we did that one with the Harley Davidson Buying Experience podcast.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I kind of referred them to that, and then they're like, "Hey, you guys are 2A. We're going to subscribe because motorcycles and 2A."
Heck yeah.
Like, hell yeah. Most people that ride motorcycles or own them got to support this 2A as well.
And most vehicle or car guys do too.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
crazy. Hand in hand.
Except for if you own an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
Then you probably don't
Yeah.
watch this channel at all.
Or you might.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Probably not.
So yeah. But I like the new rig.
There you go.
Now you're trying to convince me for an R18B.
He's got 2 4-wheel BMWs.
Yeah.
So 2 cars. So now he needs a motorcycle BMW. And the R18B stands for bagger. So it's kind of like mine. It's got more features and stuff, and it's cheaper because Harley Davidson's high dollar. I mean, it has reverse.
Yeah. And hill assist and heated grips.
So it's got a lot more and it's less. So why not get it? It's a BMW bike. It's not like it's a sports bike to where you're going to
I know.
You're going to try and push it that way. But the one downside, and we've talked about this, is it's so new to the market. The
There's no
aftermarket
aftermarket,
market isn't there yet, but it's going to be.
Hopefully. Because that's one thing about me. I can't keep things just stock. I got to play with it a little bit.
Yeah. And I found it's funner to ride with somebody than around by yourself, because that just gets boring.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of cruise and don't do anything crazy, which is good. But I want to take a couple road trips. I don't know, somewhere short, like Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah.
Hang out for a little while and go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I had. Is some good news in the 2A. A couple wins for us.
Yep.
We'll see what happens with the ATF director, but the fact that they're even considering that's a win in my book.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, in less than a year it took, we'll hear some good news on the pistol brace ruling, because it's basically the same thing, only worse. So that should...
I would think it has to get dismissed. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way they could do all this and not dismiss
Yeah, why would they
it.
vacate the Paul Moretti
Yeah.
ruling and then not the one that's making
Yeah.
millions and millions of people
Felons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, with
Law-abiding citizens, felons. The Paul
Yeah.
Moretti is more, like what Biden would say, for criminals and all that. But
'Cause it's the
there
same-
are law-abiding citizens that like to build things, so they
Yeah.
like to do it too. So
yeah, and then this one is also taking the way for a vet that's injured to,
yeah, shoot something.
or anybody disabled, really.
Yep.
So we'll
That's
see.
that's where I have a problem with it. Like,
Yeah.
you're taking away people that might enjoy shooting, but they can't anymore. Due
Well,
to the
technically they
disabilities.
can have it, but then it's got to be an SBR,
Yeah, but
which is BS.
Yeah,
It's $200 more, and
yeah,
you got to go through a lot more background process.
Yeah.
Which,
I should. I don't know. I'm still debating if I should have just made an SBR.
yeah,
That was like your one chance to get it for free.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what happens if they come back and like, oh no, you don't need it?
That's if you would have gotten approved. You never know. There's that. It could have gotten delayed.
Yeah.
And then if it goes
What was it, 180 days or something like that?
something like that and you don't hear back, then you're automatically denied.
Yeah.
So that would have sucked.
Yeah.
So
But that was your one chance to get an SBR for free. I was really tempted.
Oh, well. It is what it is.
Yep. Oh, well.
Cool. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Again, if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, see videos on, whatever, let us know. Tell Chris to get an R18B here pretty soon before winter comes in, before you know it.
Well, if I get the R18B, I have heated grips and a heated steering or heated seat. So I could ride in the winter.
It really, I mean, the heated grips, the heated seat, I don't think is necessary because the heat coming off the engine automatically.
Well, that's your
warms up
legs, but like your butt.
No, trust me. Trust me. My lowrider, I see even my Sportster. I mean, your butt, like, yeah, swamp ass for sure in the summer. And then in the winter, I mean, it's, I don't see the benefit or the need for a heated seat. Grips, yes, because if you're, especially when you got the wind coming on your hands, your fingers get a little cold, even if you're wearing gloves. So the heated grips would be nice. But the seat, I would rather a cooled seat.
Yeah.
Like you have in your car.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I would much rather that.
Yeah, it's nice.
Versus a heated seat because and that's with the Harley because they're air cooled. I don't know. Is that
I think this one is air cooled because it is a boxer motor.
okay?
So and on the outside of the boxer motor, it's got the fins, which is really for helping cool it down. They're like heat fins, pretty
Man,
much.
look at all this. He knows about this bike. It's almost like he's doing research on getting one.
Shut up.
Then we'll have to get you
I've been doing research.
We'll have to get you a little chin mount for the mount of GoPro to your helmet.
I've got one. I just gotta get a better GoPro.
Yeah,
I've got a helmet too.
there you go. Even better.
I'm 3/4 there, or halfway, or a quarter.
And the
there.
wife, he's got permission. So
Yeah, I don't know.
no more. I don't know what's holding your back.
I don't know. I like having my body and my limbs, and
Just be careful.
it's not
That's
me
what
being
things do.
careful.
Yeah.
I got to be worried about the
That's why
idiots around me.
That's why I ride out south and not in the
Yeah.
city unless I have to,
Yeah. So
which we'll do. So, yeah, that's all we got for this week. Keep it a little short with some good news. And I know tomorrow's 4th of July for us anyway.
Yep.
You're hearing this on Friday after the 4th, but hopefully everybody had a good 4th of July.
hopefully you kept all your digits.
Yep, and hopefully got to shoot some guns and
Be America. Remember that.
America. Yeah,
1776.
exactly. Maker's Mark French Oak is pretty good. Give it a shot.
I agree.
And then if you guys are interested in this tactical walls behind us, check out tacticalwalls.com and use discount code BST10 for 10% off. You cannot combine that with any other offers. I know sometimes they have special promotions, but if they're not running one and you want 10% off, use our coupon code. We don't get anything from it, just something for you guys.
Help you out.
Yeah, 'cause
Build
these things
yourself a
are cool.
badass wall.
Exactly.
Hang those nice, friendly weapons of war.
Exactly. So check out that link below. Use that coupon code if you're interested. And Chris,
Remember, this is a YouTube podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and tickle that bell. If you're listening on any other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of those other things you like to listen to, remember to hit that follow. And with that one, have a good one.
I shoot bail and run through the door, but something's always